Lori Vallow smiles for the cameras. Prosecutors that withhold evidence should get more than a suspension of 60 days of their license. A total failure for this burglar. A story of a weird and creepy guy. And yes, it was a murder, not a self-inflicted wound. And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. Let's talk about it. Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you do, leave me a comment, hit that bell so you get notifications. And yes, you can listen to us on any of your favorite podcasting apps. And a quick reminder, join us live tonight, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. We are going to have a guest. We are going to be having one of my investigators, Mark Carlson, join us, and we're going to be at the CrimeTalk hangar this evening. Is always interesting when he joins us. He's a private investigator and a former police officer, and we'll discuss, what's in the headlines and what you want to talk about, and well, anything else we want to talk about as well. So let's go ahead and open the record for August 1st of 2023. And first on the docket, that's right. Yes, Lori Vallow was sentenced yesterday to 3 consecutive life sentences. You could watch the entire sentencing hearing. It was about 3 hours at a link below. Additionally, we also broke out Lori Vallow's sentencing statement that she read to the court, which was weird, okay? She's already dead or thought she died, and everybody's in a good spot, and they've communicated with her. I didn't know what to make of that. Completely delusional. Do we call the doctors in and say, is she competent to proceed, or is she just engaged in this bizarre religiosity that her reality is what it is? Now, who should be scared is obviously Chad Daybell. His trial's coming up in April of next year. Certainly he can't be encouraged based upon the statements by Judge Boyce saying that he believed the prosecution's theory that Lori Vallow and presumably Chad Daybell, even though he wasn't commenting on that because that case was not before him and he wants to maintain, being impartial. But Judge Boyce did say that he agreed with the prosecution that Lori Vallow's plan of getting rid of the children and Tammy Daybell was so they could basically have money and get rid of everybody and go live their life. And, and then we went down this rabbit hole of all this religion stuff that is just basically bizarre and weird, as the judge basically said. I'm paraphrasing that last part there, but you get the idea. Anyway, well, she has been ordered to go to the Idaho Department of Corrections, and she is being transferred to the Pocatello Women's Correctional Center. And as you can see, here's her booking photo in prison. Probably the last photo we'll see of her for a while. So that's a good thing. Next on the docket, yes, prosecutors should get more than a suspension for withholding evidence. I don't think that's too bold of a proposition at all. So an ethics board recently came to the conclusion and argued that the prosecutor who jailed an innocent man for the 2001 murder for Chandra Levy should only lose her license for 60 days. Now, in these development comes more than 22 years after Levy disappeared back in May of 2001. That was in D.C. So the District of Columbia Board of Professional Responsibility filed a 53-page report yesterday, and the board argued that Amanda Haynes, the Washington, D.C. federal prosecutor who charged and convicted Ingmar Guandike for Levy's murder in 2010, committed grave professional misconduct and therefore should only lose her license for 60 days. Now, Haynes, it's determined, was failed to evaluate the evidence as required by case law from the perspective of the defense counsel. Can you imagine such a thing? The prosecutor looking at the possible defenses that the defense will raise? Yes, they have to do that, just like defense attorneys have to always look at what the prosecution's theory is and how they're going to proceed. Needless to say, Haynes' attorney insisted that the now retired prosecutor was innocent, and they were encouraged by the board's finding that Ms. Haynes did not commit intentional misconduct and its decision to reduce the proposed penalty. Now, the hearing committee initially recommended a 90-day license suspension for Ms. Haynes last year for withholding information from Guandike's defense lawyers about a key witness prior interaction with law enforcement. Now, as you may not recall this case, Levy may say, hey, what does that ring a bell? Yes, it's a blast from the past. Miss Levy worked as an intern at the Federal Bureau of Prisons in Washington, D.C., when she suddenly disappeared in May of 2001. Now, the 24-year-old California native remains were found in Rock Creek Park in 2002. And it turned out that Levy was romantically linked to then California Congressman Gary Condit at the time of her disappearance and subsequent death, although the married father of two denied allegations that he and Levy were engaged in an illicit affair. He said, quote, I did not have a romantic involvement with her, Condit said back in 2016. I was not involved in her disappearance in any way, end quote. Susan Levy, Chandra Levy's mother, refuted Condit's claim many times over the years. There was definitely something going on between my daughter and him, Susan Levy stated back in 2016. Now, Levy's murder case remained unsolved until 2009 when Ms. Haynes and fellow Washington, D.C. federal prosecutor Fernando Campanaro Sanchez charged Guandike for the 24-year-old's intern's murder. Well, Guandike was convicted for Levy's murder in 2010, and he was sentenced to 60 years in prison. He was freed from prison in 2015 when his case was dismissed after a new trial raised question about the credibility of a jailhouse informant. Oh, not to mention the evidence that wasn't turned over by the prosecution. Well, Guandike was deported back to his native El Salvador back in May of 2017. No other suspects have been charged in Levy's death in the 22 years since she was murdered. Yes, prosecutors that fail to turn over evidence, particularly exculpatory evidence, should have more than their license suspended for 60 days when they're retired. They should go to jail. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments. Next, a burglary gone bad. Please meet Tristan Heidel. He was arrested the other morning after police responded to an alarm at a bank. While checking the building, as you can see, officers could hear noises coming from inside the roof area that goes over the drive-through banking area. And they also observed a blue recycling trash can positioned in the middle of the drive-through lane, which was directly under a roof access door. A short time later, the roof access door actually opened up, and as you can see from the video, a black backpack containing construction tools dropped to the ground. Officers then observed a male subject fall out of the access door and into the blue recycle bin. The man, later identified as Heidel, was taken into custody. He's been charged with breaking and entering, a felony possession of criminal burglary tools, and a fifth-degree felony for safe cracking. He is currently incarcerated on a $50,000 bond. Look at that guy fall out of the roof. Seriously, you can't make this stuff up. And yes, this guy's just weird and creepy. So on July 26, about 2:30 in the afternoon, officers responded to a call regarding a possibly deceased body in an apartment. A family member called 911 to report that George Bone had told her that Beverly Ma was in the closet and she had been in there for about 2 months. I mean, that's normal, right? Yeah. No. So the police responded, and guess what they found? That's right, Miss Ma's body. And apparently it was determined that she had appeared to have been deceased for an extended period of time. So Ma and Bone allegedly met in high school, became friends, and moved in with each other over the last year. A witness told police that she saw a very high air conditioning bill, so she went into the home on last week, and Bone showed her the body. Now, the witness noticed a cooler against the bedroom closet door and the bottom of the door with a towel, which covered up the gap so the cold air can stay in. Now, Bone reportedly told this witness that she can open it and see. Bone ultimately told the police that she died on about May 4th, coincidentally the same day that Miss Ma called 911 to report that there was an argument between the two. But when officers arrived and knocked on the door, nobody answered. Cops left. Yes, it's believed that Bone strangled Miss Ma that day. The coroner's office will confirm Miss Ma's cause of death. So other than doing the completely normal thing, like leaving a dead body in the closet, Bone then did the next reasonable thing. He ordered multiple items through the victim's Amazon Prime account, and police asked Bone why he didn't call for help, and Bone said that he was afraid of going back to jail for being found with a dead body. Well, that's a problem. Bone also stated to police that he put a cooler next to the closet where Miss Ma's body was located, just like in the movie The Grudge. The police arrested Mr. Bone and booked him into the detention center on a charge of murder and failing to register as a sex offender. It turns out back in 2012, Bone was accused of and convicted of inappropriately touching a young girl when she was 11. Yes, that is a crime. Kind of like keeping a dead body in your closet. Back from May. So Mr. Bone has a history of sexual assault and lewdness in connection with children as well. So I don't know what to tell you. They're just weird and creepy. Who would keep a dead body in there like that? Since May. In Las Vegas. Even if you got the refrigerator going, can you imagine the smell that must be coming from that? Oh my goodness. Next on the docket, an attorney has been killed in Texas. So police are investigating the murder of an attorney, and police initially thought that she suffered a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but later figured out that the man who called to report it was basically her suspected killer. So Kimberly Knapp was known as a passionate and thorough defense attorney down in Tarrant County. Now, Rance Magby is the guy that the police say killed her. Now, Magby was arrested some 12 hours after the 911 call on 10 p.m. on Monday night. They say that Magby suggested Knapp had shot herself. Police and paramedics responded to the home and first considered Miss Knapp a victim of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Investigators say Knapp was discovered on the bed with a single gunshot wound to the chest, and she was rushed to the hospital but died a short time later. Police confirmed that Knapp and Magby were romantically involved, but no other details were being released. Yeah, I'm not sure why they would figure a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the chest would have taken place unless maybe the firearm was right there and he left it there. You got to work pretty hard to get that to happen. Well, unfortunate that anybody lost their life, in this case a defense attorney. So hopefully we don't find out that this guy had an extensive criminal history. We'll have to wait and see. And next, our dumb criminal of the day. A self-described Christian woman and grandmother was arrested in Ohio at a water park after witnesses told police she called a child a brat and a fat ass. And then he pushed him off a floating toy. Needless to say, the police responded to this disorderly conduct complaint at the water park and spoke with a woman by the name of Jennifer Hutton, who described the confrontation in the kids' pool between her son and a 67-year-old Michigan resident. Now, when the police interviewed the suspect, she identified herself as Jennifer Lee Miller. While admitting that she called the boy a brat, Miller denied swearing at the child and said that she didn't touch the minor in any way. She stated she was a Christian woman and a grandmother, and she wouldn't do such a thing. How dare you? Well, after witnesses contradicted the woman's claim, the police officer warned Miller she could be charged with disorderly conduct if there was another incident, so she got a free pass. But after departing the water park, the police officer did what most police officers do, and they run all that background information. And the police officer determined that Ms. Miller had provided him with a phony name, a fake address, and a fake phone number that just rang busy. And when he went back and subsequently confronted Ms. Miller about the discrepancies, the woman claimed she didn't have her ID on her and felt like once again she was being harassed. Well, like most of them do, they crumble. This woman crumbled and eventually admitted that her name was Janet Nail. She was arrested for obstruction, a misdemeanor, and placed into custody. She lied about all of her information and had No reason for doing any of that, the police officers note. I would have charged her with attempting to influence a public official, but hey, what do I know? Anyway, Miss Janet Nail, our Christian grandmother, 67 years old, you know better than that. You have to be a better judge of judgment. You have to have better judgment than that. Hopefully you're better than this, but apparently not. But this is what happens in the world of criminal law. You get to see people at their worst moments, which oftentimes brings out human nature. You get a front row at human nature when you do this job. All right, that's all we have for today. Please join us tonight, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. We are going live, and we have a guest this evening, Mark Carlson, my investigator, former police officer. We'll talk about what you want to talk about and, well, anything we want to talk about too. So please join us. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tonight.